Good morning. If I get my microphone over here, we can get this to work. Let me unmute my microphone. Okay, I'm wondering if you guys can hear me now. If you can, great is excellent. Um, thank y'all for coming through for an open civics discussion. We're gonna get into a couple of intricate things this evening, so we're gonna wait a little bit for everybody to flow in and all that good stuff. Hopefully, y'all having a great weekend so far. Um, and all that good stuff. What are y'all plans for the weekend? I got my coffee. That's about all I'm gonna be doing all weekend is doing this thing called the coffee thing. 'Cause I got things to do. I got things to do, y'all. Well, again, I appreciate y'all uh, taking a TV time out to come in and learn a little some about your civic duties, right? As a American citizen, first of all, right? And secondly, let me see if I can get my camera to line up the way I want it to. I guess. Yeah, here we go. Um, and all that good stuff. So if you can hear me, put a one in the chat. I see Miss Christie hears me. Anybody else, Miss Marlene, anybody else that's here, put a one in the chat if you can hear me. Greatly appreciate it. Greatly appreciate it. Okay, I see you, Miss Marlene. All right. So hopefully other people will flow in here. We won't hold up. We won't hold it up for everybody else. They can come back and watch it later again. This afternoon we're going to be talking about civics. We talked about last week um, about the different powers of government. We also let me realign this a bit. Okay. We also talked about the division of powers, which is very important to understand who has what power to do what, how, and when, given to the Constitution. Now we're going to get a little bit more deeper into that division of power, and we're going to talk about what's called Dillon's rule or home rule, right? Well, we'll talk about these two things that are very important when it comes to understanding your local government. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and get this thing. Let's get this thing started. Get this thing popping. So there's going to be 7 different things we're gonna go over today. One, comparing the functions and powers of state and local government. Outline the powers held by county government. Explain the forms under which cities can incorporate. Classify the types of city governments. Analyze the benefits and challenges of special districts, and describe the process and challenges of government elections, and identify problems facing local government and possible solutions. Y'all ready to go? Let's go. Let's get it. Let's get it. If it lets me do the thing here. There we go. Oh, wait, hold on. Did I go one too far? Nope, I didn't. Okay. All right. So we have the powers and functions of local government. You have three different functions. You have preemption, right, which is the supremacy of rules and laws handed down by your state government. Dillon's rule, which by state governments can place restrictions on municipalities as long as these rules do not violate the state's constitution. And number 3, local regulation, aka we know those as ordinances. All right. So in county government, they govern the unincorporated areas, right? Which is your basically everything outside of your city municipal or borough municipal or township boundaries, right? Your county government governs those areas, right? Like we'll use let's use Palm Beach for example, Palm Beach County, right? We have a Palm Beach County sheriff that governs everything outside of a true municipality. Like here in the in the town of Palm Beach, we have our own police department, so we don't need a sheriff. West Palm Beach, they have a police department. They don't have the sheriff involved, right? But then you have little towns like Lake Park, Florida, which does not have a police department, which is under the county's jurisdiction, right? Because it's unincorporated. It's a small town, but it's unincorporated, right? So they have a community council, not a city council. That's a little bit different. We'll get into that a little later to understand how those types of boards function, right? But for the time being, we'll keep it very surface level. Okay. Um, you have a county judge and a commissioner's court. You have a county sheriff, county prosecutor, county administrators, and county finance officials. And your city governments, now here's where it starts getting here's where it gets dicey, because municipalities do work a little bit differently. Um, you have three different things that's involved in city governments. You have general law cities, which some of you have heard me and Miss Aja Smith talk about on here, the congressional candidate that I'm friends with that's running in California. We talk about general law cities, right? Which those cities operate under the laws that the states provide, right? So in other words, um, whatever the state law is the law over the municipality also. A home rule city is a self-governing city. So a home rule city makes its own rules, right? They make their own, they're their own entity. They're like their own little country within a state, the best way to explain it. And as you see here, they're also independent of state law, right? State law does not apply to a home rule city or independent city. Like let's take one of the biggest ones, Baltimore. Baltimore's an independent city. They're not under the jurisdiction of the state of Maryland. They're their own country in that sense. Okay, they're their own country. And then a charter. Your charter is basically, look at it as your city's constitution, right? A charter. Look at it in that manner. No need to really explain it further than that, but that's basically what it is, right? And if you live in a home rule city, you more than likely have a charter. It's very important to know that charter, because that, right, that in itself, unless it's preempted by the state constitution, that is the law of your jurisdiction. That city charter. So it's very important to know your city charter. So obviously you know what cities you live in. And that's going to be part of your homework assignment this evening. Once we end, I'll denote that, right? Finding out if you're a general law city or a home rule city, and locating your city charter and reading it, etc. Right. So we'll mention that. That'll be a call to action at the end of this broadcast. Now, with home rule cities, right? The local voters propose ordinances to the city charters, which are known as ballot initiatives. Right. And then we have a referendum, right? And that in itself makes sense. Local voters can repeal existing ordinances, or whatever is in the charter, they can repeal it. Recall, right? Home rule cities have the ability to recall, right? As we've seen just recently with Chesa Bodwin in San Francisco, the people recalled, right? Recalled that district attorney because of his radical his radical policies and his jurisprudence, right? So with that, we've seen the recall of Gavin Newsom in California, etc. This is all stuff that's done under home rule, but on a state level it's a little bit different. And with home rule cities, they have the ability to annex, right? Join the conjoining of unincorporated land into the boundary of an existing city, right? So we don't see much annexation anymore, because we're pretty much at capacity, because the annexation bit comes with has a population provision with that. So you got to have X amount of people within a square mile, right? And if that area has exceeded that, then that area cannot be annexed, right? So, and we're at that point. A lot of places in this country, there's annexation is not happening anymore, because the people are moving into these areas and boosting the population per square mileage. But there are still places that still can be incorporated. Like, let's take Alaska, for example, right? If we take the borough of the North Pole, the borough of the North Pole is actually the largest municipality in this country, because they've annexed so much land up north of Homer, Alaska, right, where they're literally like the whole that whole piece up there, not North Slope. I'm sorry. That whole northern tip of Alaska up to Prudhoe Bay is literally one huge municipality. It's vast, very vast. But on with that. So the next thing, now we're going to talk about the three types of city government. Your mayor council system, which a lot of us are very familiar with, that doesn't need explanation. A commission government, right? And some of you do live in a where you have a board of commissioners, right? That runs your city, right? There's no mayor, etc. Right? They just have you have a board of commissioners, and they're the executive and the legislative body of your municipality. Then you have your council manager system, right, which is very similar to the commission government. The only difference is that the council appoints a city manager, which is basically you would call them in the sense of the hierarchical structure a deputy mayor, right? They're not elected per se, right? But they're appointed, city managers appointed to run the day-to-day operations of the city like a mayor does, right? But it's appointed by the council. So ultimately the council has the ultimate authority, and the manager has to go do whatever they're supposed to do. Excuse me, it's jumping everywhere. So within your municipalities, you have special districts, and a lot of you are familiar with. A lot of you folks are familiar with these and don't realize you're familiar with them, right? So we'll go through this list right here. Some of them might like ring a bell to you, right? You have your particular special districts. That's a single purpose government that performs a specialized function, right? Like your zoning commissions, right? Your zoning commissions or special districts, right? Your school districts, your special improvement districts, your junior and community college districts, library districts, municipal utility districts, right? If your city is if your city sponsors your water, right? You get a water bill from your city, that's a municipal utility district, right? Hospital districts, some municipalities own the hospital systems, right? This is where that comes into play. And your homeowners associations, which it's technically not one, but it still works with city government, right? As in some sort of functionality when needed. So I know a lot of you are probably familiar with those. So I don't even realize that's part of your municipal government. So when it comes to elections, right? Here's this is something that really needs to be talked about, right? We know about county and city elections, right? But the minority representation in municipal government, and if we look at our city councils or our county councils, etc., we notice that they're usually like clean sweeps of one particular party, right? There's all Democrat or it's all Republican, right? There's no mixture, there's no representation of the smaller parts of the municipality, right? With that, right, low turnout in multiple and municipal elections, right? It's always, I mean, if you go back and just look at the numbers, and we just look at the sheer numbers of the presidential election years, you'll start noticing how down ballot. And what I mean by down ballot is everything under the president and the House of Representatives and the Senate, everything down ballot, your governor, lieutenant governor, Department of State, Department of Agriculture, if you have one on the state level, et cetera, all those down ballot state government and local government offices, the turnout is low for those elections. It's like people just mark the top three and throw their ballot in the bin and don't care, or they blindly vote straight ticket all the way down and don't know who they're voting for on a local level, right? And that's, again, one of the reasons why I'm doing this, so people can be enlightened on what's going on your local level, right? Because again, right, your local level is more important, your state level is more important than the federal level, right? So this is why, again, this is why I'm doing this. So a few issues in local government that we see, and this is universal, is local governments are short on cash, right? The tax increment reinvestment zones are like the answer to that if you could find the areas to do it in, right? Rising debt in your cities, right? Because there's not enough tax revenue coming in, right? In the name of property taxes is the biggest tax revenue for a city or a county, right? And especially with our right now, especially with our current housing crisis that we're going through, with the inflation of raw materials, things like that, houses are not getting built as quickly, and people are not buying so fast either because there's all the real estate's being bought up, right? So that can slow down tax revenue in yet incurring more debt, right? Cooperation across governments, right? Now, with that, some of you have heard me talk about this before about the let's take law enforcement jurisdiction, for example, right? Cooperation across governments, right? Because obviously, right, the sheriff works for the county, right? They work for the county, and then you have your municipalities, and you have this jurisdictional thing, like, oh, it's my jurisdiction here. We'll talk about that probably next week, right? Because that's complicated, right? But that's cooperation across governments. That's part of that, right? You have your urban sprawl with city governments, right? Because you get to a point where you're busting at the seams in your cities, right? You have people on top of people on top of people on top of people. Let's take New York, for example, right? New York's urban sprawl. I mean, New York theoretically should be land wise should be way larger than what it is. But you have people on top of people on top of people on top of people, and they didn't get the chance to actually small. That's why they're sprawled. That's why they're confined to the tip of Long Island, which is Brooklyn, right? And Queens. Queens is on the island too, right? And then you have Manhattan on Manhattan Island, right? Harlem, all that, and the Bronx. That's it, right? You can't go no further. But they've suddenly squashed in almost 5 million, 5, 6 million people in that small area, right? But you have a lot of cities like, let's take Jacksonville, Florida, for example, right? They were anticipating urban sprawl, but yet they took too much land. I mean, Jacksonville, Florida is Duval County. It's the largest city land wise in the lower 48. Largest city land wise, because they were expecting Jacksonville to sprawl because of the military, right? Cecil Field, NES Jacks, Mayport, um, Mayport Naval Air Station. You have a Coast Guard Station, Mayport, all that going on there, right? But it hasn't sprawled like they thought it was, but it will. But that's another story for another day. But you have some places that anticipated the sprawl and some that over anticipated. It's all good either way, right? It's better to be safe than sorry, right? Okay, I see the question here, Miss Cheryl. Your question is, how do you feel about paying property taxes on property paid for? Would it break the revenue, or should we pay closer attention to how that revenue is spent? There's a couple of things there, right? Personally, it's like when you buy property, it's like you're double taxed, right? You pay sales tax on it, right? And then you're paying a property tax on the property every year after you've paid sales tax for it, right? Um, I think either you take away the sales tax and you keep the property tax. Which personally for me, I'm not a taxation guy. Y'all know this. Taxes are extortion, but at the rate we get taxed, I mean, we're taxed on our income, what we bring in, right? We're taxed after the fact of what we bring in. And then again, if you buy property, right, your sales tax, and then you're hit a fourth time, right, with property taxes, right? When it comes to the sale of property, right, technically shouldn't be any tax on that. And I got a series I'm going to do on that too, how the taxation came about on property, because it was not intended to be that. When the Pilgrims got here, Magna Carta, all that. But um, we should get rid of sales tax on property, right? And then you just buy it for the flat fee, and then you still pay your property taxes, right? I think that's more fair. in that regard, because we know the municipality has to make money to keep the services going. We know that, right? Um, but continue to tax on money that was already taxed, that's already been taxed again, and being taxed for the taxed money, and then being taxed forever as long as you own the property off of what you've been taxed off of is insane. So hopefully that kind of answers your question a little bit, Miss Cheryl. So, with that, with the other piece of issues, local government to zone and not to zone, right? And that's your zoning and planning commission, right? They determine it, you know what I mean? How much funding goes to a certain zone, if they're going to zone it agriculture, what business can go in there, et cetera, et cetera. And then also the pensions of your local workers, right? So that's always an issue with that. And we see that in Chicago, right? With the pension, we hear about the every year we hear about the pensions of the city of Chicago employees, police, etc. Yeah, that's a problem. That's a small problem. Next slide, please. So our takeaways, where are we at here? Okay, our takeaways thus to this: the local governments provide an extensive range of services to the community, spanning social, economic, environmental, recreational, and cultural. These usually relate to streets, sanitation, and safety. Each county is run by a county judge and a commissioner's court made up of 4 county commissioners. Usually, yeah, that's about right. Sometimes it's 6, depending on the size of your county, right? General law cities, when we talked about it before, general law cities have limited authority to make their own to make laws of their own, whereas home rule cities can largely govern themselves, right? And we saw this just recently, right, with the city of New York, how the city of New York passed that ordinance that non-citizens could vote in their elections, right? Even though it was obviously it was slapped down because it stepped outside of the state's constitution, right? But that's the kind of thing cities can do until challenged, right, by the state, right? Um, but New York is a home rule city, right? It's its own independent little doodah, right? Um, an unincorporated area or city is generally powerless to stop a larger city from annexing it into its territory. Annexation is occasionally done against the will of the community being annexed, which is very true. The mayor in a strong mayor system can take a wide range of independent action, and in a weak mayor system, the mayor has no formal authority to act outside of the council. The council manager system grants more power to unelected officials than to the elected officials. The system can invite corruption, and we've seen that. We've seen that in many, many, many cases. So when we talked about special districts, special districts have grown because local government has passed off many of the functions to special districts, and these districts are free to generate their own tax revenue. Right? Municipal utility districts deal with the supply of water, including protection, conservation, storage, irrigation, and drainage. Local elections often receive little media attention, include unfamiliar candidates or issues, and are held in years that are not presidential years, right? Which is opposite, right? But again, local elections are important. You know who your president is, you know who your house rep, your federal house rep and senator is. Again, that's why we did that exercise last week. So you knew who was directly in governance in line of you, your elected officials, right? Those names are more important than Joe Byron or any of them, right? The AOCs and the Marjorie Taylor Greens and the John Cornyn's. Those names you researched last week are more important than those people up there. And we have to always keep that in mind, right? Because your local issues, again, are more and more important, right? Let's see. Holders of at-large offices are elected by the voters in the whole territory or the whole city. The place system elects individuals from separate seats carved into districts. Local governments are short on funds because the state has reduced local property taxes and has not provided additional funds to make up these losses. Rising debt and pension payments are also eating up local government budgets, which is so true. So true. And again, right when we're getting to this point, we've talked about um overextension, right? We're talking about um we're talking about the expansion of government, right? These are the things, right? These are the things, right? Too many government employees, right? Got to pay them. They got to pay the pension, right? All of that reduction in property taxes, right? Ends up in the end, they have to negotiate and balance pensions, this, that, and the third for former employees, right? So again, these problems, a lot of it is government overreach, not government overreach. I'm sorry, I misspoke. A lot of it is mismanagement and the sprawl of government, how big it has gotten, right? And local government should be should actually be just a touch larger than the federal government, right? It should be a touch larger because they have more jurisdiction, right, over so many things, local resources, et cetera, et cetera. But um, I think they both are kind of hand in hand, neck and neck with each other, right? But that'll be up for you to determine on your own. And that is the end of said slide. Um, what I will do, I have another one that I have prepped right now just for y'all. Just for y'all, I have another one to kind of explain a little bit more about the the way our where is it at? To explain how it how our the local system really works on the internal level. Um okay. Okay, so we'll get into this one here. This one here, this comes out of Pennsylvania. I found it to be very, very, very good presentation on kind of what we're talking about. I wonder if I can make that a little bit bigger for everybody so they can see it. Okay, it doesn't really make a big difference, I don't think. No, it just moves my face. It just moves my face around. I can move my face around. Well, I'm gonna leave it over here on the side. Okay. All right, we'll leave it just like that. So we're gonna talk about here in this presentation, right? We're talking about Dillon's rule, home rule, right? We're gonna talk about some of the policies adapted on the local level. We're going to talk about tobacco. We're going to talk about tobacco, right? Because that's a highly consumed nicotine's a highly consumed substance next to alcohol in our country, right? And we'll show you how the local governments are using this this addiction or what have you to make gain, right? So we see here, right? Different news articles from back over time. Philadelphia has a soda tax. A lot of people didn't know that. Philadelphia has a soda tax, right? Illegal cigarettes are big business in New York City. If y'all remember Eric Garner, right? Right. If we remember Eric Garner, he was he was basically he was killed over selling loose cigarettes, right? San Francisco moves to ban vaping flavors and menthol cigarettes. Right, this menthol cigarette thing is not new. Like, we heard Joe Biden talking about it. It's not new. San Francisco's already did it. Right, Chicago. Right, 2017 soft drink tax. Right, Seattle income tax on the rich. You know, um, Philadelphia wants to tax you tax you more on drinking alcohol. Right. And where we got? Albany Park and Irving Park, right? Bag tax, a bag tax, use a grocery bag tax. Like, I'm telling you, this is how the city governments get their way, right? Let's go on here. So in Philadelphia, okay, there's a 1.5 cent per ounce tax on sweetened beverages. Now let's make a comparison, right? That's 24 times the Pennsylvania excise tax rate on beer, right? Now this tax also is included in diet drinks, on diet drinks also, right? So anything basically that's bubbly, 1.5 cent per ounce tax, right? Went into effect in 2017 and expected to raise $72 million in revenue. Originally was pitched. See how they fooled them? It was originally pitched to fund pre-K education. The funny things they do to get money out of the citizens, right? And what you see is as the result of that, um, it fell $6.7 million short of projections, and just 49% of the soda tax revenue goes to pre-K programs. 20% of the funds, 20% funds government employee benefits or city programs, and the remainder funds parks, libraries, and community schools, hurting low-income earners the most. You see that, right? Miss Christie, yes, that would include carbonated water. That is correct. Yes, that would be considered a soda. Yes, but you see what they did, right? They said, "Oh, yeah, we're going to fund pre-K programs," but then the rest of it gets split up and sent away. This is why it's very important to be involved in your local politics. Very important stuff like this that flies under the radar, right? All of this stuff. Yes, that is exactly correct, Miss Cheryl. That's exactly correct. So let's talk about local tobacco taxation. Remember, guys, this is Pennsylvania, right? And we talked about home rule and Dillon's rule, right? So we'll kind of go over it real quick, right? Obviously, the U.S. Constitution does not mention local government, right? Local governments are creations of the state governed by state constitutions. Your home rule, a municipality has the authority to tax and regulate unless expressly preempted or restricted, right? The state of Florida is a home rule state, right? In other words, all the municipalities are autonomous of the state, right? But there's one caveat. In Florida, taxation belongs to the state. Everything else, it doesn't matter, right? There is no state law, right? There's no state law. Um, well, let me take that back because that's gonna sound confusing. In other words, we do not have general law cities in Florida. They're all home rule cities, right? Except for obviously the provision in the state constitution that says taxation is theirs, right? Which is the preemptive part, right? Um, Dillon's rule, on the other hand, a municipality may exercise only those powers expressly conferred by the state in statute. So let's take Georgia, for example. The state of Georgia is a mixture of home rule and Dillon's rule. The state of Tennessee is also a mixture of home rule and Dillon's rule, but you'd have to find out how how your municipality is governed, right? Um, in that regard. So we're not going to spend too much time on that right now. Actually that's another show. That's another lesson we'll do too to understand the difference between home rule and Dillon's rule, right? And I could also send you the information too to understand a little bit better. If y'all would send me your email addresses, etc. Um, I could put you on a mailing list for civic stuff that I do send out from time to time, and I can send you guys that information in a newsletter, an attachment type deal. So keep that in mind. Those of you that y'all already know how to get hold of me. If not, you already know my email address, info@bpmg.us. So here is a map I don't know how well you can see that. I wonder, can I make that bigger? Okay, so you guys can see. Let me put myself back down here in the bottom. You guys can see all the red states. Okay, just let you know, all the red states are Dillon's rule states when it comes to tobacco control. Okay, and tobacco taxation. All of the red states. Okay, are under Dillon's rule. All the blue states are home rule states when it comes to tobacco taxation, right? You remember I was telling you Florida, right, is a home rule state, right? And Florida has said we have the authority for taxation. And here's another good one too to really find out. I know a lot of people don't smoke, but here's a test. If you go into a convenience store, right? Ask the clerk how many stamps are on a pack of cigarettes. Ask the clerk at the convenience store, whether it's a Kangaroo, a Circle K, or whatever, right? A Wawa. Ask them how many tax stamps are on a pack of cigarettes, and you will know, right? When it comes to taxation, if you are a home rule state or a Dillon's rule state, because if it's a Dillon's rule state, right? Unless expressly written by statute, the municipality can tax tobacco. So your bottom of a pack of cigarettes will have two tax stamps. It'll have the stamp of the state, and it'll have the stamp of the local municipality on the pack of cigarettes. Those are the little things that you can go look and see what's really going on, right? And how you're governed. It's just those little Chinese secrets. But we'll move forward from that. So on this map, I kind of gave it away, right? There's 8 states. Cigarettes are taxed at the local level in 8 states: Missouri, Illinois, Ohio, New York, Pennsylvania, Virginia, Alabama, and Alaska. And it ranges from 1 cent to $3 per pack. And let me tell you, in New York, I think by the time they made this slide in 2018, it was $3 a pack. Right now in New York, the taxing the rate is $3.70 a pack of cigarettes in New York. That's why any of you that has been to New York before, and has walked around the bodegas and the little corner stores there in New York, their cigarettes are running literally $13-14 a pack because of the $3 tax. Now, and we're not even going to talk about the state's taxation on those cigarettes. I mean, you are literally in New York. In New York alone, you are paying, if I remember correctly, you're paying damn near $7 in taxes, right? $7 in taxes in New York alone on a pack of cigarettes. Most states, cigarettes are $7 a pack. So you're literally in New York, you're buying 2 packs of cigarettes, right? That you know what I mean. You can go across the border over to New Jersey to get your cigarettes, right? You can get 2 packs for the price you pay for one in New York. But see, here's the funny thing. Here's the other thing they try to get you to keep you stay in New York is it is illegal. Check it out. It is illegal to buy cigarettes in another state and transport them across state lines. Yeah, isn't that crazy? The tax stamp, right? It's the whole tax stamp thing, right? You're a citizen in one state, you're paying the tax stamp, they bring it back. Yeah, they try to get you on the what you call it on that. But anyway, we digress. I'm gonna take a sip of my coffee as we sit back and learn something today. Hopefully, everybody that's joined, thank y'all for coming in and all that good stuff and hanging out. Um, so local excise taxes, uh, the local excise tax states, right? So In 2016, there are 615 sub-state taxing bodies for this tobacco tax. These municipalities raised more than $469 million during that, right? And we see Alabama has 306 cities, 52 counties. That's way more than majority of the bodies, taxing bodies, in this whole thing. So let's talk about Philadelphia and Pennsylvania cigarette taxes. Pennsylvania legislators voted to give Philadelphia local authority to institute a cigarette tax in 2014. Philadelphia instituted a $2 a pack local cigarette excise tax in 2014. Pennsylvania adopted a $1 pack cigarette excise tax increase in 2016. So in the city of Philadelphia, right? In the city of Philadelphia, you are paying $3 a pack as of 2016. It might be higher. I haven't looked. Like I said, I just pulled this presentation because this is a good example of how Dillon's rule and home rule works and paying attention to your local politics. So if you are a smoker in the city of Philadelphia as of 2017, you're paying at least $3 in tax per pack of cigarettes. Think about that. So the cigarette tax, $2 a pack to fund city education. Any revenue shortfall to be backstopped by the state. The city's comptroller, I know it says city's controller, but comptroller, we'll get into that another time, right? In 2017 predicts a $26 million shortfall, $5 million below the school district's budgeted projection of $54 million. Philadelphia cigarette tax. Here's what happens when you tax something, right? All right. Here's something here, right? When you tax something, people tend to stay away from it, right? Philadelphia cigarette volume declined 57%. Pennsylvania's cigarette volume declined 4.9%. Philadelphia cost the state more than 1.1 million cartons in the first year, or 17.9 million in revenue. Pennsylvania cigarette tax, right? We talked about $1 were competitive with surrounding states prior to the tax increase, right? And then we can see here Pennsylvania lost nearly 8 million cartons of volume to surrounding states and beyond, lost roughly 200 million in revenue. Consumers either started crossing the border into Delaware and West Virginia or stopped coming to Pennsylvania to purchase cigarettes. I think it's a combination of all the three because you taxed it so much, especially with Philadelphia. And those of you on the East Coast that's ever been to Philadelphia know you have Delaware on one side of the river and you got New Jersey up on the other end, which is not that far, right? So people will go over to Delaware, go get the cigarettes, go to New Jersey, get the cigarettes, right? And if you're in Western Pennsylvania, you just drive over to Wheeling, West Virginia, get your cigarettes, right, and then come back, right? Or even Ohio, right? So we that we have that, and yeah, and even some people would drive from Pennsylvania to Virginia, depending on where they were, right? And what if it was cost effective, right? So we're looking at the Pennsylvania map, Pennsylvania border retail, right? And you can see all the counties that benefited from people coming over from New York. See that? And we got Erie County, we got let's see, this is Luzerne County, that's Lackawanna County, Susquehanna County is on the border. Yes, I lived in Pennsylvania at one point in time in my life too, quote unquote, quasi. Had a residence, didn't actually live there, but that was a residence, right? Philadelphia County down here. All that, yeah, Gettysburg, this area. This is Pittsburgh, right down here. Pittsburgh down here, Wheeling's right here, right? But yeah, a lot of these places in green would come over here to come buy cigarettes. right? I'm sorry, and vice versa, right? So anyway, stash and run, yeah, stash and run. That's it, Miss Cheryl. Stash and run. All right, so local tobacco regulation. We're coming to the end of the end of this one. Um, so we're looking at local government authority over tobacco, right? And this includes advertising, licensure, smoke-free indoor air, and youth access, right? And all the states in green have local control policies, right? And then all of the states in like the lime greenish have three to four policies as such. All of your teal have two or four policies, and the ones that are in light purple have one of four policies, and then you have the ones that are in deep purple that have none of the local control policies on hand. So you can take a gander at that. Okay, so I think we're coming to the end. I think so. Yeah. I don't remember how long this slide is. There's a lot of information here. I had to read through to make sure it's all legit. So, increasingly, municipalities are adopting local regulations restricting tobacco products, which is we're talking about restricting flavored tobacco, reduce number of retail tobacco licenses, restrict tobacco sales near youth facilities, restrict tobacco coupons and discounts, and increase tobacco purchase age of 21, which they did, right? They did that 2 years ago, where you can't buy a pack of cigarettes unless you're 21 nationwide, right? So let's look at recent local activity when it comes to tobacco. No flavor tobacco ban within 500 feet of high schools. Increase the purchase age to 21, and the OTP tax on vape and stuff like that. San Francisco, Oakland, and Contra Costa County, California, flavored tobacco sales bans, including e-cigarettes. So you can't buy any of that in San Francisco, Oakland, or Contra Costa County, California. Um, in Minneapolis, St. Paul, flavored tobacco ban, including e-cigarettes. Right. So in other words, you're not buying any vape juice, et cetera, on that area. Menthol cigarette bans. California case study. Menthol flavored cigarettes make up 26% of California cigarette volume at 219,526,060 packs. If banned by all localities, the state will lose $630 million in revenue from lost menthol cigarette sales alone. Now, how stupid is that policy? How stupid? Think about this minute. I mean, if we're talking revenue, right? We're talking revenue, right? And California is so broke. They're so broke, right? I mean, they can't even keep Medi-Cal on point. But anyway, but they brag blue states, fun red states. I'm not getting into that right now. But I mean, they scream they broke. But anyway, I digress. Um, you would think, right? Majority of people of melanated skin in the United States that smoke menthol. I mean, this is not like a stereotype. This is just facts. Hispanics, Black Americans, they smoke menthol. They don't smoke regular cigarettes. They smoke menthol. So if you was the ban, considering the amount of Hispanics and Black Americans in California that smoke, right? Yeah. Um. You would think they'd be smarter about that, right? Like, don't ban the flavor. Ban all of them. Ban all of them. Don't ban menthol. And that's a very good question, Miss Cheryl. What's up with banning menthol? Well, it they claim, right? This is their claim, Miss Cheryl, is that they menthol hurts black people. Smoking hurts black people. We got to preserve the black people. So we have to ban menthol to help them with their longevity of life. Wait till you see my face. What? What he said? Yeah, that's what they said. That's what they said. That's what they said. In so many words, I'm just like, it's pretty racist. So I know white folk that smoke menthol too. I know a lot of white folk smoke menthol. You know what I'm saying? But again, right, going at my premise, that's the premise, right? Black folks have always smoked menthol. Hispanics have always smoked menthol. That smoke, right? And that even comes down racial lines coming out of Jim Crow. That's another story for another day. That's a history lesson day. Yeah, I'm sure y'all will be pretty ready to learn about, right? So with that being said, we have said maybe I need to make that a little bit bigger. So let's click on. So in conclusion, let me put this back so everybody can see the screen. Local taxation and regulation is on the rise. Yes, it is 100%. Localities are increasingly have a need to raise revenue. Localities have the potential to negatively impact state revenue and the economy. Many unintended consequences are potential for patchwork of tax and regulations pitting city against city, creates winners and losers for business, potential criminal tobacco trafficking, increased crime. We've seen that, right? With Eric Garner, bless his soul, right? The selling loose cigarettes. This is what happens, right? Creates food deserts when urban stores go out of business. That's another one. That's another big one I need to do something on, right? Because people don't understand. I talked about it a little. I talked about it. Was it last night or the night before, or whatever? With somebody, it wasn't on the radio show about food deserts, right? How crazy it is that we have food deserts in the United States of America. That's another story for another day, right? Especially in our cities, right? Our cities, we have food deserts like a champ. Um, so with that, thank y'all for hanging out, all that good stuff. I'm willing to take any questions from you guys. What I will do, I am going to put in the local chat. Um, I'm going to put in the local chat. If you and you can see this here, if you want to join in real quick, ask a question, all that good stuff. You don't want to type it out, feel free to click on the link there in the StreamYard and come on through, ask a question. Yes, Mr. Trump was big on that. Yes, he was 100%. So if you got any questions, all that good stuff, um, step on up to the plate, etc., etc. So as as I'm waiting for people that want to maybe jump on real quick and ask a question, etc. Um, those of you last week that didn't get your list in of who your mayor, all that good stuff, take your time, get that to me. I want to see that you're actually paying attention to your local politics, right? Remember that. Remember my email address is info. Just to make it easier for you, it's info.bpmg.us. All that good stuff. Um, you can also support. I'll also say you can also support my work here on the YouTube, on the radio show, etc. Patreon.bpmg.us, or if you want to go to the Manage Justice 007 /support. You can go over there also and choose to do the PayPal or et cetera, all that good stuff. I just figured I'd just put that out there, etc. For those of you. I greatly appreciate that. But yeah, I'm taking questions. I'm taking questions from everyone, etc. If you have any. Oh, you emailed? Okay. All right. I see you, Miss Christie. I see you. Okay. So here's the next call to action. Okay. Here's the next call to action, y'all. Now that you know who your city people are, etc. Find out if your city, if you live in a city, okay, if you are a charter city or a general law city. Okay. Once you find that out, if you're a charter city, find your charter, read your charter. It shouldn't be that big. City charters are not that big. Okay, not that long. I'm sorry, not that big, but not they're not that long, right? Um, so peep that. Hold on just a minute here. So I'm having hold on. There we go. Okay, so yeah, I can do that. It's scrolling at the bottom also, but I will. I actually need to kind of update that particular page too because it looks like. But anyway, yeah. So you can let me do it this way. I'll post the links in. I'll just post them one by one in here. The different places you can go. Um, to do the thing. We but anyway, yeah, I'm taking all said questions. If you have any about that. But like I said, go in and find out if you are a general law city or a charter city. If you are a charter city, um, find your city charter, read read your city read your city charter. Okay, I'm still going here. I'm still going. Still going. Okay, that's it for now. Or um what I want to do, I think I just need to create a page um like for that. Um so I could just like post it easy. Yes, they are on there. They're under the support. You got to click the arrow under support on the Managed Justice 007. Um let me see what we got here. There we go. Okay, here we go. I need to kind of do a separate page for all of that. Um okay, so that's all of them so far. I've got them all listed there. No, you're fine, Miss Cheryl. That's what I'm here for. I'm here to help educate and learn myself too. Because there's so I'm always when I was putting together these slides earlier, and kind of reading this stuff, there's a couple things in there I didn't even know, like the taxation on tobacco. I thought that was very important. So I knew that municipalities, especially home rule municipalities that had power over local taxation, would do things like this. But when I found that slide presentation, I was like, oh, stop, this is good. This is good, right? And these are the intricate little things that you wouldn't think that people or city municipalities would do, but again, right here we are, right here we are, and we got cities literally doing that, right? Um, so like I said homework for everybody. Yeah, I need to make that easier. I can ask Rod questions all day long. You don't want that life. You don't want that life. But anyway, um, like I said, so again, right, current you guys' current homework. right? And remember, make sure you send it. Let me put the email address scrolling at the bottom, info@bpmg.us. Your current homework, one, is your municipality home rule, right? Or general law if you live in a city. If you live in the county, we automatically know how that rolls, right? But even then, right? General law or charter. If you're a charter city, pull your city's charter and read your charter. Once you read your charter, I challenge you to find something in that charter you may not like. Find something in that charter you may not like, write it down, and explain why you don't like it. And next Saturday, we will have a discussion on that at towards the end of civics class next week. We'll have a discussion surrounding that, right? And get an understanding of how your city looks. So by the time you've read your city charter, you know what's going on in your city, right on point, right? So this would be a good this would be a good understanding of that. So there's no further questions. Thank y'all for coming through as always. And again, remember, the said links, go to manofjustice007.com and click on the arrow next to support. There's a few things there: Amazon wish list, buy me a coffee, the MLJ store. We can get some nice fun stuff. And just speaking of the MLJ store, I do have to I'm just gonna have to bring this up for y'all real quick, because it's the MLJ store, baby. It's the MLJ store. Y'all already know how we're gonna roll with this. It's the MLJ store, baby. We got everything up in here. We got apparel. Give me liberty, give me death, Southern Liberty, front and back. You can get a shirt with the MOJ symbol on it. And now I'm working on that too. Homeware, we got towels, beach towels with MOJ on it. Phone cases. We got the phone cases, the bags. You know what I'm saying? We got the drinkware. You got a coffee mug, water mug, the MOJ symbol on it, and Southern Liberty. So, store.manofjustice.com. If you feel like you gotta see the symbol every day of your life, or you stand for liberty, give me death, because that's kind of where we are right now, right? Give me liberty or give me death, right? Y'all go and help out the good old MOJ store over there, or hit the Patreon, right? All that good stuff. So I appreciate y'all 100%. I love y'all. And remember the assignment. Come back and listen to this video. If you think this video is very informative, share it with your friends, with your family, etc. As I sip my coffee. And with that being said, I love y'all. Be well, have a great weekend, and obviously I'll be talking to majority of you throughout the week. Always I'll talk to all of you that that watch this, etc., support me. So we're always in contact. So we will be talking as always. Until next time, y'all, as I love to say, life, love, liberty, and happiness. Have a great weekend.